guys, Rascal 32 here, and Megan here, and we're back for another reading of Tales by Sachar. But before we get into it, for those that are subscribed, stay subscribed and watch at least one piece of content from my channel. Hope you watch one piece of content is okay. Thank y'all. For those that are subscribed in the future, thank you in advance. If you want to know what I put on my channel, please check out my bio on my channel. I have my playlist schedule on there. If you want more content from this girl, please like, share, comment. If you haven't already subscribed, and hit the notification bell so you know for every single time I do an upload. Now, let's get into it. Chapter 8. A lot of people don't believe in curses. A lot of people don't believe in yellow spotted lizards either. But if one bites you, it doesn't make a difference whether you believe it or not. Actually, it is kind of odd that scientists named the lizard after its yellow spots. Each lizard has exactly 11 yellow spots, but the spots are hard to see on its yellow-green body. The lizard is from 6 to 10 inches long and has big red eyes. In truth, its eyes are yellow, and it is in the skin around the eyes which is red, but everyone always speaks of its red eyes. It also has black teeth and a milky white tongue. Looking at one, you would have thought that it should have been named red-eyed lizard, or black-toothed lizard, or perhaps a white-tongued lizard. If you've ever been close enough to see the yellow spots, you are probably dead. The yellow-spotted lizards like to live in holes, which offer shade from the sun and protection from predatory birds. Up to 20 lizards may live in one hole. They have strong, powerful legs and can leap out of very deep holes to attack their prey. They eat small animals, insects, certain cactus thorns, and the shells of sunflower seeds. Chapter 9. Stanley stood in the shower and let cold water pour over his hot and sore body. It was 4 minutes of heaven. For the second day in a row, he didn't use soap. He was too tired. There was no roof over the shower building, and the walls were raised up 6 inches off the ground except in the corners. There was no drain in the floor. The water ran out underneath the walls and evaporated quickly in the sun. He put on his clean set of orange clothes and returned to his tent. Put his dirty clothes in a crate and got out his pen and box of sanitary and headed to the rec room. A sign on the door said W-R-E-C-K room. Nearly everything in the room was broken. The TV, the pinball machine, the furniture, even the people looked broken, with their worn-out bodies sprawled over the various chairs and sofas. X-ray on pit with flame pool. The surface of the table reminded Stanley of the surface of the lake. It was full of lumps and holes because so many people had carved their initials into the felt. There was a hole in the far wall, and an electric fan had been placed in front of it. Cheap air conditioning. At least the fan worked. As Stanley made his way across the room, he tripped over an outstretched leg. "Hey, watch it," said the orange lump on a chair. "You watch it," muttered Stanley, too tired to care. "What'd you say?" the lump demanded. "Nothing," said Stanley. The lump rose. He was almost as big as Stanley and a lot tougher. "You said something." He poked his fat finger in Stanley's neck. "What did you say?" A crowd quickly formed around them. "Be cool," said X-Ray. He put his hand on Stanley's shoulder. "You don't want to mess with the caveman," he warned. "The caveman's cool," said Armpit. "I'm not looking for trouble," Stanley said. "I'm just tired, that's all." The lump groaned. X-Ray and Armpit led Stanley over to a couch. Squid slid over to make room as Stanley sat down. "Did you see the caveman back there?" X-Ray asked. "The caveman's one tough dude," said Squid, and he lightly punched Stanley's arm. Stanley leaned back against the torn vinyl upholstery. Despite his shower, his body still radiated heat. "I wasn't trying to start anything," he said. The last thing he wanted to do after killing himself all day on the lake was to get in a fight with the boy called the caveman. He was glad X-Ray and Armpit had come to his rescue. "Well, how'd you like your first hole?" asked Squid. Stanley groaned and the other boys laughed. "Well, the first hole's the hardest," said Stanley. "No way," said X-Ray. "The second hole is a lot harder. You're hurting before you even get started. If you think you're sore now, just wait and see how you feel tomorrow morning, right?" "That's right," said Squid. "Plus the fun's gone," said X-Ray. "The fun?" asked Stanley. Don't lie to me, said X-Ray. "I bet you always wanted to dig a big hole, right? Am I right?" Stanley had never really thought about it before, but he knew better than to tell X-Ray he wasn't right. "Every kid in the world wants to dig a great big hole," said X-Ray. "The child, right?" "Right," said Stanley. "See what I mean?" said X-Ray. "That's what I'm saying. But now the fun's gone, and you still got to do it again and again and again." "Camp fun and games," said Stanley. "What's in the box?" asked Squid. Stanley had forgotten he had brought it. "A paper. I was going to write a letter to my mother." "Your mother?" asked Squid. "She'll worry if I don't," Squid scrawled. Stanley looked around the room. This was the one place in camp where the boys could enjoy themselves. And what'd they do? They breaked it. The glass on the TV was smashed as if someone had put his foot through it. Every table and chair seemed to be missing at least one leg. Everything leaned. He waited to write the letter until after Squid had gotten up and joined the game of pool. "Dear Mom, today was my first day at camp. I've already made some friends. I've been out on the lake all day, so I'm pretty tired. Once I pass the swimming test, I'll get to learn how to water ski." He stopped writing as he became aware that somebody was reading over his shoulder. He turned to see Zero standing behind the couch. "I don't want her to worry about me," he explained. Zero said nothing. He just stared at the letter with serious, almost angry look on his face. Stanley slipped it back into the sanitary box. "Did the shoes have red X's on the back?" Zero asked him. It took Stanley a moment, but then he realized Zero was asking about Clyde Livingston's shoes. "Yes, they did," he said. He wondered how Zero knew that. Brand X was a popular brand of sneakers. Maybe Clyde Livingston made a commercial for them. Zero stared at him for a moment with the same intensity with which he had been staring at the letter. Stanley poked his finger through a hole in the vinyl couch and pulled out some of the stuffing. He wasn't aware of what he was doing. "Come on, caveman, dinner," said Armpit. "You coming, caveman?" asked Weird. Stanley looked around to see that Armpit and Squid were talking to him. "Oh, sure," he said. He put the piece of sanitary back in the box, then got up and followed the boys out to the tables. The lump wasn't the caveman, he was. He shrugged his left shoulder. It was better than a barf bag. Chapter 10. Stanley had no trouble falling asleep, but morning came much too quickly. Every muscle and joint in his body ached. As he turned to get out of bed, he didn't think it was possible, but his body hurt more than it had the day before. It wasn't just his arms and back, but his legs, ankles, and waist also hurt. The only thing that got him out of bed was knowing that every second he wasted meant he was 1 second closer to the rising of the sun. He hated the sun. He could hardly lift his spoon during breakfast, and then he was out on the lake, his spoon replaced by a shovel. He found a crack in the ground and began his second hole. He stepped on the shovel blade and pushed on the very back of the shaft with the base of his thumb. This hurt less than trying to hold the shaft with his blistered fingers. As he dug, he was careful to dump the dirt far away from the hole. He needed to save the area around the hole for when his hole was much deeper. He didn't know if he'd ever get that far. X-ray was right. The second hole was the hardest. It would take a miracle. As long as the sun wasn't out yet, he removed his cap and used it to help protect his hands. Once the sun rose, he would have to put it back on his head. His neck and forehead had been badly burned the day before. He took it one shovelful at a time and tried not to think of the awesome task that lay ahead of him. After an hour or so, his sore muscles seemed to loosen up a little bit. He grunted as he tried to stick his shovel into the dirt. His cap slipped out from under his fingers, and the shovel fell free. He let it lie there. He took a drink from his canteen. He guessed that the water truck should be coming soon, but he didn't finish all the water, just in case he was wrong. He learned to wait until he saw the truck before drinking the last drop. The sun wasn't yet up, but its rays arched over the horizon and brought light to the sky. He reached down to pick up his cap, and there next to it he saw a wide, flat rock. As he put his cap on his head, and he continued to look down at the rock. He picked it up. He thought he could see the shape of fish fossiled in it. He rubbed it off some dirt, and the outline of the fish became clear. The sun peeked over the horizon, and he could actually see tiny lines where every one of the fish's bones had been. He looked at the barren land all around him. True, everyone referred to this area as the lake, but it was still hard to believe that this dry wasteland was once full of water. Then he remembered what Mr. Sir and Mr. Prudensky had both said. If he dug up anything interesting, he would report it to one of them. If the warden liked it, he would get the rest of the day off. He looked back down at the fish he'd found his miracle. He continued to dig. Though very slowly, he waited for the water truck. He didn't want to bring attention to his find. After that, one of the other boys might try to take it from him. He tossed the rock face down beside his dirt pile as if it had no special value. A short while later, he saw the cloud of dirt heading across the lake. The truck stopped and the boys lined up. They always lined up in the same order. Stanley realized no matter who got there first, X-Ray was always at the front of the line. Then came Armpit, Squid, Zigzag, Magnet, and Zero. Stanley got in the line behind Zero. He was glad to be at the back so no one would notice the fossil. His pants had very large pockets, but the rock still made a bulge. Mr. Burdinsky filled each boy's canteen until Stanley was the only one left. "I found something," Stanley said, taking out of his pocket. Mr. Burdinsky reached for Stanley's canteen, but Stanley handed him the rock instead. "What's this?" "It's a fossil," said Stanley. "See the fish?" Mr. Burdinsky looked at it again. "See, you can even see all of its little bones," said Stanley. "Interesting," said Mr. Burdinsky. "Let me have your canteen." Stanley handed it to him. Mr. Burdinsky filled it and then returned it. "So did I get the rest of the day off?" "For what?" "You know. You said if I found something interesting, the warden would give me the day off." Mr. Burdinsky laughed as he gave the fossil back to Stanley. "Sorry, Stanley, the warden isn't interested in fossils." "Let me see that," said Magnet, taking the rock from Stanley. Stanley continued to stare at Mr. Burdinsky. "Hey, Zigzag! Hey, Zig! Dig this rock." "Cool," said Zigzag. Stanley saw his fossil being passed around. "I don't see anything," said X-Ray. He took off his glasses, wiped them on his dirty clothes, and put them back on. "See, look at the little fishy," said Armpit. Chapter 11. Stanley returned to his hole. It wasn't fair. Mr. Burdinsky had even said his fossil was interesting. He slammed his shovel into the ground and pierced up another piece of earth. After a while, he noticed X-Ray had come by and was watching him dig. "Hey, caveman, let me talk to you a second," X-Ray said. Stanley put down his shovel and stepped up out of his hole. "Say, listen," said X-Ray. "If you find something else, give it to me, okay?" Stanley wasn't sure what to say. X-Ray was clearly the leader of the group, and Stanley didn't want to get on his bad side. "You're new here, right?" said X-Ray. "I've been here for almost a year. I've never found anything. You know, my eyesight's not so good. No one knows this, but you know why my name's X-Ray?" Stanley shrugged his shoulder. "It's Piglet for a Rex. That's all. I'm too blind to find anything." Stanley tried to remember how Piglet looked. X-Ray went on. "Why should you get the day off when you've only been here a couple of days? If anybody gets a day off, it should be me. That's only fair, right?" "I guess," Stanley agreed. X-Ray smiled. "You're a good guy, caveman." Stanley picked up his shovel. The more he thought about it, the more he was glad that he agreed to let X-Ray have anything he might find. If he was going to survive at Camp Green Lake, it was for more important that X-Ray think he was a good guy than it would for him to get one day off. Besides, he didn't expect to find anything anyway. There probably wasn't anything of interest out there, and even if there was, he'd never been what you could call lucky. He slammed his blade into the ground and dumped out another shovelful of dirt. It was a little surprising, he thought, that X-Ray was the leader of the group, since he obviously wasn't the biggest or the toughest. In fact, except for Zero, X-Ray was the smallest. Armpit was the biggest. Zigzag may have been taller than Armpit, but that was only because of his neck. Yet Armpit and all the others seemed to be willing to do whatever X-Ray asked them. As Stanley dug another shovel full of dirt, it occurred to him that Armpit wasn't the biggest. He, the caveman, was bigger. He was glad they called him Caveman. It meant they actually accepted him as member of the group. He would have been glad even if they called him Barkback. It was really quite remarkable to him. At school, bullies like Derek Dunn used to pick on him, yet Derek Dunn would be scared shitless by any of the boys here. As he dug his hole, Stanley thought about what it would be like if Derek Dunn had to fight Armpit or Squid. Derek would stand a chance. He imagined what it would be like if he became good friends with all of them, and then for some reason they all went with him to his school, and then Derek Dunn tried to steal his notebook. Just what do you think you're doing? Asked Squid, as he slams his hands into Derek Dunn's smug face. Cavemen's are friends, says Armpit, grabbing him by the shirt collar. Stanley played the scene over and over in his mind, each time watching another boy from Group D beat up Derek Dunn. I hope it helped him dig his hole and ease his own suffering. Whatever pain he felt was being felt 10 times worse by Derek. Chapter 12. Again, Stanley was the last one to finish digging. It was late afternoon when he dragged himself back to the campground. This time he would have accepted a ride on the truck if it was offered. When he got to the tent, he found Mr. Bedinsky and the other boys sitting in a circle on the ground. "Welcome, Stanley," said Mr. Bedinsky. "Hey, Caveman, you got your home dug?" asked Maggie. He managed to nod. "You still in it?" asked Squid. He nodded again. "You're right," he said to X-Ray. "The second hole's the hardest." X-Ray shook his head. "The third hole's the hardest," he said. "Come join our circle," said Mr. Bedinsky. Stanley flopped down between Squid and Magnet. He needed to rest up before taking a shower. "We've been discussing what we want to do with our lives," said Mr. Bedinsky. "We're not going to be at Camp Green Lake forever. We need to prepare for the day we leave here and join the rest of the society." Hey, that's great, Mom," said Magnet. "They're going to finally let you out of here?" The other boys laughed. "Okay, Jose," said Mr. Bedinsky. "What do you want to do with your life?" "I don't know," said Magnet. "You need to think about that," said Mr. Bedinsky. "It's important to have goals. Otherwise, you're going to end right back in jail. What do you like to do?" "I don't know," said Magnet. "You must like something," said Mr. Bedinsky. "I like animals," said Magnet. "Good," said Mr. Bedinsky. "Does anyone know of any jobs that involve animals?" "Veterinarian," said Amber. "That's right," said Mr. Bedinsky. "He could work in a zoo," said Zigzag. "He belongs in a zoo," said Squid. Then he and X-Ray laughed. "How about you, Stanley? Any ideas for Jose?" Stanley sighed. "Animal trainer," he said. "Like for the circus or movies or something like that." "Any of those jobs sound good to you, Jose?" asked Mr. Bedinsky. Yeah, I like what Caveman said, but training animals for movies? I think it would be fun to train monkeys. X-Ray laughed. Don't laugh, Rex, said Mr. Dancy. We don't laugh at people's dreams. Someone is going to have to train monkeys for the movies. Who are you kidding, Mom? Asked X-Ray. Magnet's never going to be a monkey trainer. You don't know that, said Mr. Badinsky. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Nothing in life is easy. But that's no reason to give up. You'll be surprised what you can accomplish if you set your mind to it. After all, you only have one life, so you should try to make the best of it. Stanley tried to figure out what he'd say if Mr. Beninsky asked him what he wanted to do with his life. He used to think he wanted to work for the FBI, but this didn't seem to. He wanted to work for the FBI, but this didn't seem to be a perfect place to mention that. So far, you've all done a pretty good job at messing up your life, to Mr. McKenzie. I know you think you're cool. He looked at Stanley. So you're a caveman now, huh? You like digging holes, caveman? Stanley didn't know what to say. Let me tell you something, caveman. You're here on account of one person. If it wasn't for that person, you wouldn't be here digging holes in the hot sun. You know who that person is? My no-good, dirty, rotten, pig-stealing great-great-grandfather. The other boys howled with laughter. Even Zero smiled. It was the first time Stanley had ever seen Zero smile. He actually had such an angry expression on his face. Now he had such a huge smile. It almost seemed too big for his face, like the smile on a jack-o'-lantern. No, said Mr. Bedinsky. That person is you, Stanley. You're the reason you are here. You're responsible for yourself. You messed up your life, and it's up to you to fix it. No one else is going to do it for you. For any of you. Mr. Bedinsky looked from one boy to another. You're all special in your own way, he said. You've all got something to offer. You have to think about what you want to do. Then do it. Even you, Zero. You're not completely worthless. The smile was gone from Zero's face. What do you want to do with your life? Mr. Bedinsky asked him. Zero's mouth was shut tight as he glared at Mr. Bedinsky's dark eyes seemed to expand. What about it, Zero? Asked Mr. Bedinsky. What do you like to do? I like to dig holes. Chapter 13. All too soon, Stanley was back out on the lake, sticking his shovel into the dirt. X-Ray was right. The third hole was the hardest. So was the fourth hole, and the fifth hole, and the sixth hole, he dug his shovel into the dirt. After a while, he lost track of the day of the week and how many holes he dug. It all seemed like one big hole, and it would take a year and a half to dig it. He guessed he lost at least 5 pounds. He figured that in a year and a half he'd be either in great physical condition or else dead. He dug his shovel into the dirt. It couldn't always be this hot, he thought. Surely it got colder in December. Maybe then they froze. He dug his shovel into the dirt. His skin had gotten tougher. It didn't hurt so much to hold the shovel. As he drank from his canteen, he looked up at the sky. A cloud had appeared earlier in the sky. It was the first cloud he could remember seeing since coming to Camp Greenland. He and the other boys had been watching it all day, hoping it would move in front of the sun. Occasionally it got close, but it was just teasing them. His hole was wasted. He dug his shovel into the dirt. As he dumped it out, he thought he saw something glistening as it fell onto the dirt pile. Whatever it was quickly buried. Stanley stared at the pile a moment, unsure if he'd even seen it. Even if it was something, what good would it do to him? He promised to give anything he found to X-ray. It didn't seem worth the effort to climb out of his hole to track it out. He glanced at the cloud, which was close enough to the sun that he had to squint to look at it. He dug his shovel back into the earth, scooped out some dirt, and lifted it up over his dirt pile. But instead of dumping it there, he tossed it off to the side. His curiosity had gotten the better of him. He climbed up out of his hole and shifted his fingers through the pile. He felt something hard and metallic. He pulled it out. It was a gold tube about as wide as the second finger on his right hand. The tube was open at one end and closed at the other. He used a few drops of his precious water to clean it. There seemed to be some kind of design on the flat closed end. He poured a few more drops of water on it and rubbed it on the inside of his pants pocket. He looked again at the design engraved into the flat bottom of the tube. He could see the outline of a heart with the letters KB edged inside it. He tried to figure out some way that he wouldn't have to give it to X-ray. He could just keep it. But that wouldn't do him any good. He wanted the day off. He looked at the large piles of dirt near where X-ray was digging. X-ray was probably almost finished for the day. Getting the rest of the day off would hardly do him much good. X-ray would have finished to first show it to X-ray would have to show it to Mr. Sir or Mr. Pavinsky, who would then have to show it to the warden. By then X-ray might be done anyway. Stanley wondered about trying to secretly take the tube directly to the warden. He could explain the situation to the warden, and the warden might make up an excuse for giving him the day off, so X-ray wouldn't suspect. He looked across the lake toward the cabin under the two oak trees. The place scared him. He'd been at Camp Green Lake almost 2 weeks and still hadn't seen the warden. That was just as well. If he could go his entire year and a half without seeing the warden, that would be fine with him. Besides, he didn't know if the warden would find the tube interesting. He looked at it again. It looked familiar. He thought he'd seen something like it somewhere before, but couldn't quite place it. "What you got there, caveman?" asked the guy. Stanley's large hand closed around the tube. "Nothing, just, it wasn't useless. I think I might have found something." "Another fossil?" "No, I'm not sure what it is." "Let me see," said Zigzag. Instead of showing it to Zigzag, Stanley brought it to X-ray. Zigzag followed. X-ray looked at the tube, then rubbed his dirty glasses on his dirty shirt and looked at the tube again. One by one, the other boys dropped their shovels and came to look. "It looks like an old shotgun shell," said Squid. Yeah, that's probably what it is, his family. He decided not to mention the engraved design. Maybe nobody would notice it. He doubted X-ray could see it. No, it's too long and thin to be a shotgun shell, said Magnet. It's probably just a piece of junk, said Stanley. Well, I'll show it to Mom, said X-ray. See what he thinks. Who knows, maybe I'll get the day off. Your hole's almost finished, said Stanley. Yes, so. Stanley raised and lowered his shoulder. So why don't you wait until tomorrow to show it to Mom? He suggested. You can pretend you found it first thing in the morning. Then you can get the whole day off instead of just an hour or so this afternoon. Esther smiled. Good thinking, Kidman. He dropped the kid into his large pocket on the right leg of his dirty orange pants. Stanley returned to his hole. When the water truck came, Stanley started to take his place at the end of the line. But X-ray told him to get behind Magnet in front of Zero. Stanley moved up one place in line. So that is the end of the reading today, which is chapters 8 through 13. So for those that are subscribed, stay subscribed and watch at least One Piece content on my channel. I'll keep watching all of them, but One Piece content is okay. Thank y'all. For those that subscribe in the future, thank y'all in advance. If you want to know what I'll put on my channel, please check out and follow my channel. I have my upload schedule on there. If you want more content from this girl, please like, share, comment if you haven't already, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know for every single time I do an upload. Now I'll see y'all back in another reading of the holes in another day.